democratic socialism is a belief that democratic practices or democratic procedures are necessary, but they're not actually sufficient if we don't also bring the kind of democratic values into the space of the economy. I'm Amy Linch, and I am a teaching professor of political science and the director of undergraduate studies for political science. I think the democratic socialists started in, or they were kind of formed essentially as an association in 1983 under the direction of Michael Harrington, who is a pretty important American socialist. And their roots are in like the student movements of the 1960s, the anti-war movements, the anti-racism movements, the movements for women's rights, and so forth. I mean, they're an association, but with an aspirational agenda that will endorse political candidates in different political parties. And their goals, I think, are to support some kind of affordable life with dignity toward perhaps a long-term transformation. But they're not really focused on like, well, let's go overthrow capitalism. But they do hold a priority on democracy understood as a kind of philosophical commitment to fundamental equal liberty and equal dignity and a kind of mutuality and community. The things that Mamdani did really well were mobilize people directly and use social media, particularly TikTok, extremely well. So he was able to kind of get people to support him and to make use of the possibilities of messages going viral, where there's a kind of production cost, but he's not having to pay for the distribution of videos because that's actually just happening in the context of the media itself. There's something in this form of campaigning, this form of social media engagement that's really reflective of the basic principles of democratic socialism, that democracy is a participatory process that is all of us, and that kind of foregrounds the basic needs and aspirations and the voices of the society more broadly. And his campaigning strategy was to go out and center people expressing their needs, and then he would kind of jump in at the end sometimes and say, well, this is what we're going to do about it. So he would translate those needs into some type of policy action, but the heart of his mode of engagement was to hear what people were worried about. It's a kind of bottom-up collective distillation of concerns and needs. And then he's positioning himself as sort of the liaison to solutions to that, rather than this kind of top-down, I see you, I understand what your problems are, and I'm going to tell you how to solve them. And I think that there is a little bit of this, or at least a perception of a kind of distant, maybe arrogant imperiousness from the Democratic Party in its, supposed eliteness, that you represent, people who are telling us the answers rather than who are listening to what we need.